Let's get right to our friend Mike Ritland. Mike, how are you, sir? Welcome to Cam and Company.
Oh, good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's good to have you on, Mike. So the Warrior Dog Foundation, before we talk about that, you fought as a Navy SEAL, which thank you for your service to our country. Much appreciated in Operation Iraqi Freedom, other deployments. Talk about your life as a SEAL and talk about your life, since then and what got you to start the Warrior Dog Foundation.
Sure. I spent a little over 12 years on active duty. I joined right out of high school, and it's something that I wanted to do. I wouldn't say my entire childhood, but once I was in high school, I got interested in the military and special operations, and I had grown up swimming, so I did that and went that route, and did multiple deployments. Been to Iraq, and as my time in Iraq, witnessing the use of military working dogs and seeing firsthand their efficacy and their ability to augment our troops and save countless lives, I was immediately hooked. I had grown up with a lot of different working breeds, bird dogs and catch dogs, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And so from that day forward, back in 2003, I just got as involved with working dogs as I could possibly get, and have spent the last 10 years, breeding, raising, training, researching, whether it's animal husbandry or genetic theory or, psychology and training, you name it. I just can't get enough of it or couldn't get enough of it. And so fast forward to when I got out of the military in late 2008, in 2009, I started a canine training company, and shortly thereafter the Warrior Dog Foundation. And so I do kind of the full gamut of not only the business aspect of selling and raising dogs, but also on the backside, once they're done with their service and special operations, we also retire them and give them a life/sanctuary for dogs that don't have a place to go once they're done.
And what are sort of some of the challenges, Mike? This is Andrew Langer. What are the challenges and we all know about the warriors themselves when they come home, and the challenges that they face when they come home and transitioning to civilian life? What are the challenges that our canine warrior counterparts face when they come back?
There's a lot of parallels between the human warriors and the canine warriors across the board, and I would say that the challenges facing them returning home are no exception. They deal with physical disabilities. They deal with mental issues, PTSD, et cetera. While they are much more simple in terms of their association and in terms of their thinking, they still do have issues with that on some occasions, not all of them, just like with people. But those two issues are certainly existent. The other issues that you run into are, some of the dogs, because of the nature of the work that they do, are just a little more hardwired for that type of stuff, for that type of work, and so they're a little more difficult to deal with. And you really need people that have that kind of experience, that have dealt with dogs like that in those types of situations and environments, to be able to continue to deal with them, moving forward. And so, just in terms of resources and training staff and facilities to accommodate not only just housing and having a sanctuary for the dogs, but also, veterinary care, being able to handle the dogs, do certain things with them in terms of administering veterinary care, or just, daily routine. One of the things that we focus on very, very heavily in the foundation is letting them unwind and just be a dog, so we don't really do any follow-on training in terms of the high-speed stuff that they're used to doing. It's all, letting them, run around pastures and wooded areas and playing ball with them and taking them for walks and rides and just letting them be a dog and letting them enjoy the last few years of their life, as best we can do for them.
That's awesome. Talking to Mike Ritland from the Warrior Dog Foundation. Mike, we see stories sometimes. Sometimes it's a good ending. Sometimes it's a sad ending, or it's a to-be-continued story where a dog that a service person worked with overseas, person comes home, would like to bring that dog with them here to the States. I've seen some just heart-wrenching, reunion videos that just, unless you have a heart, you're just like, it makes you tear up. You hear stories that it just can't happen, it won't happen. Is there a specific law? Is it different by branch of service? Why does there seem to be such differences in trying to get the dog that you fought valiantly with overseas back here to the States?
Yeah, it's a combination of a few different factors. I will say in terms of congruency within DoD, there really isn't any. It can be different from unit to unit, organization to organization. So that's part of the problem, is that there's not a across the board mandate on what the policy or protocol is, and some of it is because each unit has a different mission. They have different needs. They have different resources, different budgets, different building in terms of manning. So I don't know that necessarily having a across-the-board mandate is necessarily the right answer. However, one of the reasons it's so difficult is that, let's say, for example, a soldier is paired up with a dog. He does his time with the dog. Now the dog is, say, 4 or 5 years old, and this guy moves on, or he separates and gets out from the military, and this dog still has, several years of working life left in him. Then he's going to be that dog is going to be turned over to a new handler and continue to work. So that's one of the issues. Another issue that I've seen happen is that some of these canine programs are facilitated through a civilian contractor, through a company, and so if that happens, then there's kind of a disconnect. It's not necessarily government property. It may be or a government contract in terms of the military or government having ownership of the animal. It may be subcontracted as a service in some instances. So there's a lot of different variables that can contribute to the issues that exist with guys being able to be paired up. But I will say that I would say the majority of the dogs, at least in the context of the ones that I have experience with, there's been a very, very high percentage rate of guys being able to be reunited with the dogs or having the dogs retired to them. And that's actually also one of the things that we've done with the Warrior Dog Foundation, is we have been able to retire dogs to their former handlers on a number of occasions. So,
Nice.
So it's something that I think collectively we're all working towards getting better at, being able to do things like that. Some instances it's just not feasible for some of those previously mentioned circumstances.
Speaking of the Mike Ritland Warrior Dog Foundation, Mike, tell us about your book, Trident Canine Warriors.
Sure. The book is essentially kind of a 101 of special operations working dogs. It talks about the background of the use of dogs in the military and in combat as it relates to broad spectrum and also special operations. Talks about the breeds that we use and why, the selection criteria and why, some of the training principles and philosophies and how we go about getting them to do the magnificent things that we do. And then there's a number of stories of, combat stories with different dogs and handlers. So it's not just, one dog and one handler. It's, several different and some of their experiences in combat. And then kind of wraps it up with a little bit about the Warrior Dog Foundation and what the dogs are doing after their service. And the biggest reason why I wanted to write the book is to give people an idea of just how special these dogs are, how important they are, and kind of give the general public kind of an insider's view as to how important they are in augmenting and saving our guys' lives. Because in terms of number crunching and budgetary cuts, dog programs are typically resource driven, and they're expensive, and so they're one of the things that can get cut fairly quickly once wars are over or conflicts are finished, et cetera. And it's my personal goal to try to help stop that, because it's no different than, say, if you were to turn off the SEAL teams. Hey, we're not at war anymore. We're just going to disband the SEAL teams until we have another problem, and then we'll start them back up. And it doesn't work like a light switch. These dog programs take years to get in the full swing of things and get developed and really refined to the level that they are today. And I think it's paramount to our nation's security, both abroad and here, within the different state, federal, and local law enforcement. communities to keep dog programs as robust as possible and keep them on the forefront of all of our organizations.
Absolutely. Mike, you're talking in some of your literature here, you're talking about building a living memorial and museum. Obviously you have plans and would love to do that. Where do you think that would be?
That's a good question. I don't have a predetermined location. It really depends on where the foundation goes from here. There's actually already there was just a Special Operations Forces Canine Museum in the Fort Bragg area in Fayetteville, North Carolina, that was just opened a few weeks ago, and so it may be something where we support them and try to drive some of that organization's funding and help them out in that regard, since there's already one in existence. So that stuff is still a little bit up in the air, and that's a little further down the road. Right now our primary focus is the dogs themselves.
Sure.
Any handlers and their families that have been wounded or killed in action, and then later down the road potentially or possibly either a museum or help the memorial that's already in existence.
Mike Ritland with Warrior Dog Foundation. Mike, thank you for your great work. You can get more information at warriordogfoundation.org. Thank you, sir, for all you have done and for your service and all you continue to do.
Amen.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.